Yes, so as I was saying, professional editor, very helpful. If you can do it, highly recommend you do it. As someone who has done that. Okay, next. What do you do after you write that first draft and edit it and look at it and figure out what's wrong? What's the next step? So my next step, what I did, would be write a second draft. And resolving to fix the issues. If you want to add new ideas in that second draft, do it. But make sure it makes sense in the story. Don't just add them in on a whim, because I made a mistake and did that, and it just made no sense. But just add them in. Add them in. Figure out an easy way to add them in, and you can still go creative wild, but do it to fix the problems that were in the first draft. That's what I'm saying. So this is what I did with Expose. I spent 4 months writing a second draft of Expose, and I did copy and paste some from that first draft, which I will never be doing again, because that just caused a lot of problems later on. But it was very helpful for me to figure out how to fix plot holes, have certain character relationships be strengthened, and also figure out everybody's relationships as characters, and it helped me get to know my own characters more. All right. Yeah, so that is second draft. And then what do you do after that? After you finish the second draft? I hope you know what I'm going to say. Yes, you edit. We love editing. So, what I did was I waited again like 6 months, and then I edited it. It wasn't like I wasn't writing at all during that time, just by the way. I was finishing other books at the time. But for Expose Draft 2, I waited 6 months. Long periods of time. Never again. I wouldn't wait that long again. I wouldn't do that again. But I would say wait at least a month before you try and figure out what the heck's going on and that stuff. So, again, look at it with partiality. Just go through an edit. And the thing is, what I did for my draft 2, you don't have to do this at all, but I went to a complete deep dive editing where I rewrote entire chapters while I was deep dive editing. And I sat on my dining room table for 5 hours editing. Don't remind me of that. That was torture, but I did it. I spent a lot of time editing. Expose Draft 2, basically. And resolving to fix my plot holes, which in the end, I did. For the most part. And I honestly think I could have published Draft 2, except if it wasn't for the last 2 parts, which were horrendous. But besides that. So what did I do after I finished that Draft 2? I waited... What did I wait? I finished editing in June. I waited a good 6... Not good 6 months. It wasn't 6 months. I waited a good 3 months. I waited a good 3 months before I started writing a Draft 3. And that was partly because I was doing a class. So I guess this is step 5. Write a third draft. And you may be looking at me like, Olivia, I don't want to write another draft of this book. And I didn't either. Okay. But I did it because I realized, wait, I'm actually getting this published now. I need to make it good. And also there were still some issues with that second draft. So I wrote a third one. I added all the stuff. Add the last minute stuff that you want to add. That's my thing. Add the last minute stuff you want to add. Make sure it all makes sense. Go have people read it and dissect it. Just write it. Write that draft. And what I did with this draft, you can see my process here on YouTube. What I did with my third draft, which is in the writing process videos, the 2 sets of editing process videos, the publishing process videos. All of that I did for my third draft. And you can also see that process there. But what I specifically did differently than I've ever done before, I've never done this before, is right after Exposed I started editing. The day after, which I've never done that. I edited Exposed for 16 consecutive days, or 17, I think it was 17. 17 consecutive days, so a little over 2 weeks I spent editing. And then, after I finished that, and that was mostly for just spelling corrections, rewording, things like that. But then I took a month break from Exposed, and I went to work on other stuff I wanted to work, like my book 5 or short stories. And then I came back to that draft, and I re-edited everything. And I looked at it with more partiality, and I think that worked. That was the best that worked for me. Is like editing right after, getting spelling errors and stuff, and then going back and editing more developmentally. And that's what I would personally suggest, just because it's worked better for me. But if it does not work for you, then don't do it. And I think that step 6 is edit your third draft. And then I think the book would be pretty much complete at that point. It's a lot, okay? It is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, but I think it really helps get the book to a good place. Because you're writing the book multiple times. You know the characters like the back of your hand. You don't even have to think about it. You know the setting. You know the story. And it gets you familiar with the story. It helps you understand how characters work together and what their relationships could be. Also, it helps you add new ideas and experiment with things that you may not have even thought of if you just wrote a first draft, one and done, or 2 drafts, one and done. But I think it's really helpful to do a 3 draft because then you can just understand your character relationships, understand the story on a deeper level, understand what you want to do with the story, and that's what it did for me. So, yeah, this is a little bit about my 3 draft process. I'm sorry this was a little off the cuff, but I think I did a good job. I think I did a good job explaining it. If I did not, ask for clarification in the comments. I will answer them. I always answer them. I love my comments. I will answer any of them. I don't care. But, yeah, just let me know what you think. Thanks.